Hey guys, my name is Jesus, but they know me as Chewy, and I'm here to talk to you guys about my testimony video. So, it all started, I must say, when I was born. I'm just kidding. So, basically, I'm just gonna go straight to it. I was bullied actually when I first started school, which was kindergarten. I think the year was 2002, I believe. So, I grew up in a small little barrio in Corona called Home Gardens. So everyone knows each other. It's a small little community. We all grew up with each other. We went on bike rides. We went just hanging out with everyone at the library and stuff like that. So I'll get into that very soon. But it all started when I was in kindergarten. I was always short. So it was always easy to get picked on, and I was always like kind of picked on within my teachers as well. So I would go for help from my teachers and nothing would happen, and my mom would be frustrated going to the school and nothing will happen either way. So it was like that till, I'm gonna be honest with you, till I think when I was in 6th grade. This was back in 2009. It was so bad to the point where my mom had to kept on going to like the school and telling them my teacher is just verbally abusing me in a sense and not helping me at all. So, and that really brought so much trauma to my life as it is, because I love my parents. They provide everything to me, but at the same time my parents weren't really there for me, like in a sense, like where I needed some type of like advice in a sense like that, they would always tell me like, oh, just, it was always on me, and I'm like, I'm looking for answers and stuff like that, so I never really got them. So when I got into middle school, that's where actually the problem happened. So we would wait at a bus stop and I would hang out with my homies, quote unquote homies, right? But in the morning, we will end up smoking weed. We'll end up drinking something. We'll probably do like some Nas balloons. Early in the morning, we're talking about 6:30 in the morning, right? Before school. So sometimes I'll go to school high, and sometimes I'll go to school crossfaded, which is, you're drunk and high at the same time. So it was very difficult for me in the sense where I couldn't really have a support, if that makes sense. And I remember, just keep in mind, the bullying is still there. And I remember like, during my birthdays, I remember I was getting pushed around. I would get dropped. I would get milk thrown on me. And that was really traumatizing to me because no one really stood up to me. Until one year, one of my friends actually stood up for me, and I was like, wow, like that was actually the first time. The only one that actually stood up for me and actually took fights for me was my brother. But that was because like that brotherly duty and that peer pressure from other people. But let's put it this way, my brother wasn't really there for me either. When the supportness, still love him. And then we got to high school. Now keep in mind, in high school nothing changed. In the household, it was going from here to here. So we're in a difficult state with my family, where we didn't really have money to even buy clothes, and like, we were on food stamps and stuff like that, and sometimes the food stamps weren't even enough. So, and we didn't have support from my family, so I would try to look for it outside, and I wouldn't be home. I would start going to parties and stuff like that. I would just start hitting more of the drugs and stuff like that. I would smoke weed every day, and just trying to have an outlet from all my reality trauma and stuff like that. And one day I remember my dad got into some conflict with some like old co-worker in a sense, because he had his own business. Well, not say co-worker, well, I'm gonna say like an old business partner in a sense. Accused him of stealing machines, which wasn't true. He walked into our house, barged into it, and just trying to look for the machines and stuff like that when we're all home alone. My dad, protecting his kids, ran out and chased them out, and actually got like a leveling stick, hit his car, hit the floor. Cops took him. He comes back the next day on bond or something like that. So that was, for me, was very like, whoa, like very like, and I was like roughly like 12 at the time, maybe 12, 13. Back in high school, the day where I just felt my whole world just came on apart, because where my dad was coming from home, I came from school and stuff like that, and my dad actually was getting taken away by these two gentlemen, and they told him that he had to go sign some papers. We didn't hear nothing from him that night. the next morning, hear nothing until like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The next day, we get a phone call when me and my brother were in the bus riding to where my parents were at. My mom had her business actually at that time, and he tells us he's in TJ in Tijuana, which is Mexico. So my dad got deported, and it was honestly like the worst time of my life right there. And I just felt my whole world just coming down. I just had no like sense of living no more. I had suicidal thoughts, even though I had like 2 younger sisters and an older brother right there, and my mom right there, because my older sister had left the house because she already was grown and started a family. So it was just us 5. No support from my uncles, keep in mind, or my cousins like that. They were all a lot older, so I really did feel a lot. But I had a friend. I remember my best friend. He would always give me like food and stuff like that. He would always hang out. He would always make sure I had something to eat with my sisters as well. So I'm extremely grateful for the person that that God has placed in that time frame for my life, and to this day is with me right now. Brian, if you're watching this, love you, bro. But honestly, like, back to the part, I didn't have any clothes. I didn't have anything. I just felt like I just wanted to work something, you know? Like, asking my uncles, hey, give me a day of job. I don't care. Like, I'm trying to get something, and at least some food for my sister and stuff like that. I would literally try to find quarters and dimes around the house just to try to get some snacks to feed my sisters, you know? Because it was really harsh for my mom. And I couldn't really do nothing about it because I was 14, 15 years old, you know? So I would go into drugs and stuff like that. I would go to the library, start drinking. We'll like inhale like Axe and Febreze and stuff like that. At the parties, we'll do like NOS and stuff like that. The times that I remember I did cocaine was twice. So I'm not sure if when I was past, like when I was drunk, I did more of it. I'm not too sure, to be honest. But to be honest, I just felt like, no, dude, like I can't live no more. I just felt like a reality just coming down to me and stuff like that. So my whole world just collapsing at that point. And something that a kid shouldn't never go through, to be honest. And I went through it. I know there's a lot of million stories out there like this, and if this is touching you, we have something in common. But at that time, I was like, and my dad came back from Mexico actually. Something like, I don't know, some arrangements happened. He came back, and I remember my brother getting me so mad, and I was just so fed up. I go into my parents' room, and I just told him, I was like, I renounce my faith in God. I don't care about God. I don't believe in God no more. Like, God has not done nothing for me. Like, I really told my parents, like, I don't believe in God. You know, like, I renounced myself, like, from the faith and stuff like that, from a Catholic home at that point. And, you know, just seeing my parents' face was just a reality right there for me as a kid. But also, for me, I was like, I truly believed that God wasn't there for me. Even though I tried praying and stuff like that, tried seeking help, nothing happened, and I just felt like nothing was going to happen. So after that, things settled down. I got into soccer. Now, soccer, I would play 5 times a day. I would still smoke weed. I would still go party and stuff like that. But I still got more involved into soccer. So as time went by, I was 17. My parents started coming here at Evermore Church. They went to a life group. They had leaders and stuff like that. So they invited me to go play soccer at a picnic. The thing I loved the most was soccer at the time. The thing was, my outlet was soccer. And I remember getting to the point and meeting their leader. When I hugged her, it just felt like I knew her for some odd reason for such a long time, but I felt that peace. I felt that love that I never felt before, and I didn't know at the time that it was the Holy Spirit transmitting from her to myself. So here's the thing. God used the thing that I loved the most at the time, the thing that I used as an outlet. Even though I renounced my faith in God and Himself, He still used the thing that I loved the most, which was soccer, to bring me back to His feet and tell me that I am His, that He loves me. And I remember through soccer, I came to church. I came here and I met so many wonderful people. And I just felt alone still. I just felt alone. And till the point where people would tell me, it's like, we're here for you. But most importantly, God has always been there for you. So that's where I actually took God really seriously. And actually, I remember just doing worship one time on a Sunday morning with my family. I just didn't want to be there, to be honest. I just was fed up. I didn't want to be there. I felt in the worship something warm. I just felt something peaceful in my life. And I just felt like, whoa, what is this? Little did I know that was the Holy Spirit transmitting from worship to myself. And I fell in love with it to the point where I just raised my hands. I just raised my hands and I gave myself to God, and I cried and I asked God for forgiveness right there. And I remember doing that salvation prayer that one Sunday, and I was like, you know what, God, I'm doing this salvation prayer. If you're real, please save me. Save me from where I am going with my own will. And I remember clear to this day where someone after service comes up to me and just gives me a big old hug and tells me, I'm proud of you. And I was like, what are you proud of me for? And they told me, because you are here. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait a dang minute. So, long story short, I was saved by soccer. I got more involved into the church. Next, you know, from soccer, the thing I loved the most and played and used my days throughout the week more for soccer, to do iDance, which was a dance studio we had here at Evermore Church. And that really boosted up my spiritual life far more than what I expected, like when I was 15 or something. And if you would have told a 15-year-old Chewy that I would have been used in a tremendous way to go dance up on stage in front of hundreds of people, I would tell you you're crazy and get lost. I would smack you and be like, don't talk to me ever again. You don't know me. And with that, I would just be so grateful over the fact that God has removed so many people, removed so many bad habits, removed so many things in my life, and replaced them with something that He wanted me to have, or wanted me to use, because that was something I needed, right? And I remember one day where my life changed forever was when I was reading my Bible. For some odd reason, I just opened it, and the verse came up, which was John 13:7. And I remember reading it, and I remember just shouting it when it says, Jesus answered, you may not understand what I'm doing now, but surely soon you will understand. And I was just like, hold on, so you mean to tell me after so many times I've cried, after so many times I've been bullied, after so many times I've been just traumatized over life in general, lied to, unsupportiveness, left alone, you mean to tell me you have everything under control and just want me to trust you? And Jesus answered me right there, and He was like, yeah. You're backing with me right now. I left the 99 for you. And that moment right there, I just started bawling. And I was like, Jesus, forgive me, because for what I have said about you and have thought about you, and having a blasphemous life, and just the way God intended my life to be. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to me. Sometimes it didn't make sense at all. But now, living in the Christian life, having my relationship with Jesus has really brought me to the point to understand and fully trusting Him. Because keep in mind, even as a Christian, I got 8 years in this church now. 8 years being a Christian. 8 years of following Christ. Keep in mind, even though I'm here with God, I've still gotten tempted. I've still had the trouble of trusting God fully. I still had just a simple doubt. I still felt alone. But why did I feel alone if I'm over here serving? Why did I feel alone even though I'm here leading people? Why do I feel alone in this aspect? Why? It's because I didn't give everything to God. I didn't trust God with some certain areas in my life. I held on to my past. Specifically, the specific thing I held on to was the thing I felt, the trauma I felt when they took my dad away from me. That trauma I held on for such a long time, and it made me doubt so much, and it made me feel so unworthy. I held on to my past. I held on to it like this, and God was just like this: give it to me, and I shall give you more. And I was like, why do you want it, God? This is me. This is who I am. This is what I went through. God, this is mine. And I was holding on to it right here. But yeah, I was still holding on to the weight. Right? Something that happened like freaking years ago. And I was still holding on to my weight. And I was damaging myself. And I wasn't trusting God fully with everything. Until when one day I finally let it go. I let it go and said, God, I am sorry. I went back to the feet of the cross and I was like, God, I am sorry for what I have thought and what I have said. The moment I did that, blessings have came. The moment I did that, loneliness went away. The moment I did that, accountability came and structure came within my spiritual life as well. Why am I saying this? I can just say what I've gone through so many times before Christ, but I've gone through so much in my testimony as a follower of Christ. So whoever is looking at this right now, whoever is listening to me right now, we're not perfect. We're not perfect. We need Jesus in our life. We need Jesus to take control of everything in every area of our lives. We can't say that we're doing it for Him when we can't give it to Him. Live for God, do it for God, and not do it for ourselves in God's name. One thing that my dad got saved, my parents got saved. One thing they always tell me, don't confuse yourself. Don't confuse yourself with your pride. Don't confuse yourself with your ego. Don't confuse yourself with everything that the world's trying to offer you. Some of the times I didn't want to listen, but I knew it was correct to listen and to obey. Because why? Because then if I wouldn't listen, I would be blocking my blessing. And by obeying, God is overflowing. God is love. Jesus changed everything. Jesus cleansed me from my past. And He cleansed me when I'm on my path with Him. Remember, He left the 99 for you. He left the 99 for me. He left the 99 for all the people around you. Now, why am I saying my testimony like this? For every Christian that is battling out there with their spiritual walk, it's never too late. It's never too late to trust God and give God everything. We just have to obey in His name, and He's going to do wonders. So thank you guys so much. We hope to see you guys soon. If you guys ever want to come to Evermore Church, we're here for you guys. We can connect with you guys, and we'll just receive you with open arms like that one person did for me in my life. So thank you guys.